Welcome to GDs, and this is Vikings Valhalla, Season 2. Season starts with Leif, hunting for Olaf, in order to avenge Liv's death. But before he could reach him, he finds that Forkbeard has captured him, and he is now a prisoner in Kattegat. In Kattegat, everyone believed that Forkbeard will execute Olaf, but he had other plans. Forkbeard threatens Olaf's son, and in order to save his life, Olaf agrees to advise and protect his grandson Svein. Having secured protection for his grandson, Forkbeard announces Svein to be the new king of Norway, with Elfgifu as his regent. He then leaves Kattegat to join his son Canute. Olaf, being back in power, wants to get rid of all pagans, and with Freydis being the last daughter of Uppsala, he announces a huge bounty on her head. We then get to see Freydis and Harald hiding in the forest, as Harald recovers from his injuries. Having recovered, he wants to head back to Kattegat, as he believes that Canute will keep his word, and support him to be king of Norway. Freydis was not keen on returning, but having been visited by the seer, she decides to return back. On their way, Freydis learns that many pagans now revere her, as she is the last daughter of Uppsala. In addition, she also finds that they are heading to Jomsborg for safety, as they learnt that it's a safe haven for pagans. Leif takes out a group of bounty hunters that were going after his sister, and finally reunites with her and Harald. Leif tells them about Kattegat, and learning that Olaf is now in power, Harald wants to raise an army and fight for the throne. While Freydis, having her visions, knows that she needs to take a different path, and thus, she tells Harald the same. Jorundur, having followed Leif, reveals that he's a Joms Viking, and offers to help them escape and get to Jomsborg, where they will be safe. Freydis tells Leif that she is carrying Harald's child, and asks him not to reveal it to Harald, since he will take a different path on learning the same. While Leif reveals to her that he is having a crisis of faith, and has not been able to let Liv go, as he is not sure whether he will see her in the afterlife. As they wait for Jorundur, Olaf finds them, and orders to kill them all. But before they could, Jorundur arrives, and is able to help them escape. With them being safe, Freydis and Harald part ways, with Freydis heading to Jomsborg, while Leif joins Harald, as they head to Novgorod, in order to meet Harald's uncle, and ask him for an army, so that he could take over Kattegat. Meanwhile in London, we see Godwin being in love with one of Queen's help, and he asks her to keep it a secret, until he can get the blessings from King Canute. He also warns Queen Emma that he is concerned about her safety, as he has heard rumors. The Queen didn't took him seriously, until Godwin stopped an assassination attempt on her life. The assassin tries to escape, but before he could, he is captured by Godwin. Godwin interrogates him, and with his brutal tactics, the assassin reveals that he was paid by someone called the Bear, before passing out. The Queen wants to know more, and Godwin assures her that he will get more information. But before he could, the assassin is killed in prison. Godwin hangs his body, in order to warn people of their fate, if they try anything. With the body being hanged, Queen Emma sees her help breaking down when she sees the body. Seeing her reaction, Emma asks her if she is hiding something from her, but she denies knowing anything. Later, as she confronts her again, she tells her that the assassin was her brother, but she has not seen him for years. Emma also learns of her being in love with Godwin, and them planning to marry. Knowing this, and not trusting Godwin, she believes that it was him who was behind the assassination attempt on her life. And in order to know more, she takes her as a prisoner. Before being taken for interrogation, she confides in Githa, telling her how much she is in love with Godwin, and how special he is. She asks Githa to return him the ring, which he gave to her, if anything happens to her. While Godwin confronts the Queen, and tells her that he had nothing to do with the attempt on her life, as if he had, he would not have stopped it. He also tells her that the only reason he hid her relationship from her is as he was waiting for Canute's approval, allowing him to marry her help, which he has received now. But the Queen, not trusting him, doesn't believe him, and she goes to interrogate her help. Being interrogated, she tells the Queen that Godwin never knew about her brother, and they had nothing to do with the attempt on her life. In addition, she also tells her that Godwin wishes for his future children to rule England. With her not being able to endure more, she finally succumbs to her wounds. Learning the same, Godwin tells the Queen that he will never be able to forgive her. Later, as he mourns her death, he finds support from Githa in his time of grief. On the other hand, Freydis reaches Jomsborg, where being the last daughter of Uppsala, she is quite revered. She also meets the leaders of Jomsborg, Lord Herker, and Lady Gudrid, who hope to turn Jomsborg into a new Uppsala with Freydis as their Jithya. Freydis, seeing the faith of people in her, agrees to do so. But she finds it strange, as not everyone was allowed to enter the temple. As Freydis spends time there, she learns that the people arriving are asked to live outside the city walls, and are forced to work. But Herker tells her that in order to be there, they need to work to support the town. Later, Herker goes raiding, and in his absence, makes his nephew Jorundr in charge. Repna, a young girl who reached Jomsborg, idolizes Freydis, and Freydis is impressed by her fighting skills. But Jorundr tells her that not everyone could join them. As for joining them, they need to prove their worth. Later, Freydis learns that Repna, in order to prove her worth, went alone to a nearby boneyard. Knowing the same, Freydis goes after her. She is able to find Repna, and on their way back, she takes out a wild boar, who attack them. With her being outside, and with others, she felt more connected with the people, and the gods. Jorundr, liking a girl from the refugee camp, also spent time outside, as they worshipped the gods together. His mother Gudrid warns him for mixing with a pagan refugee. She is also concerned with a heavily pregnant Freydis, as she wants the refugees to be treated as their equals. With Herker returning, and learning the same, he first goes after Jorundr, and tells him that they are a superior race, and in order to prove his point, he commands the Joms Vikings to massacre the refugees, and he imprisons his nephew and Freydis. Meanwhile, Leif and Harald reach Novgorod. But Harald's uncle tells him that he cannot help him with an army, as they cannot trade with Constantinople, since the route is being blocked by invading Pechenegs. Thus his only option is to trade with Knut's empire, and therefore he cannot support him. Harald is a bit disappointed, but comes up with a plan, and wants to raise an army with gold, and in order to do so, he plans to trade with Constantinople. Harald, in order to raise funds, so that he could buy cargo to trade, decides to fight. But with the fight turning unfair, Leif helps out Harald. Despite him winning, Kazan and his partner Bado flee, without paying him. Lord Vitamir, one of the lords seeing him fight, offers to pay him, if he can help escort his precious cargo past the Pechenegs, and Harald agrees to do so. Leif, not sure about his plan, gets quite angry with him, and tells him that he won't be joining him. He later gets high on opium, and has a vivid hallucination of Liv, and is finally able to say goodbye, and he collapses in the snow. As he wakes up, he finds himself in Miriam's lodgings, as she saved him from the cold. He is quite intrigued by her, learning the amount of knowledge she has. Leif also learns that she is terminally ill, and her only chance of survival might be in Constantinople. Knowing the same, he decides to join Harald, and learns that he plans to leave now, and take the boat on a sledge, so that when the ice breaks, the water carries them fast, allowing them to pass the Pechenegs, without any confrontation. In addition, he also finds that Harald already got a boat from Jesch, a slaver, who also wants to go to Constantinople. With them having a boat, they start looking for a crew, and are able to recruit Kazan and Batu. They also recruit a blind Pecheneг, Kurya, as he is one of the best guides along the Dnieper River. With the crew being final, they finally leave, with Miriam, Lord Vitamir, along with his servant, joining the crew. As they moved forward, the crew learns that Jesch slaves are young females, and one of them died. Later, with the ice thawing, their sledge gets stuck, and with great efforts they are able to break it free. But as they got it free, the ice dam that kept the river frozen thawed, and water was rushing towards them. Thus, in order to survive, they had to get the boat off the sledge. As they were freeing the boat, Vitamir's servant fell into the water, but with the help of Harald, they pulled her out. But Vitamir was not able to make it to the boat, and this is when we learn that his servant was actually his daughter Eliana. As they continue their journey downstream, they encounter another problem, as their boat's rudder breaks, forcing them to stop. Kurya tells them about a market past the mountains, where they can get it repaired. Leif and Harald travel to the market, which is now in ruins, but they are able to find the equipments to repair the rudder. As they work on it, Leif tells Harald about Freydis' pregnancy. He tells him that he didn't tell him before, as Freydis asked him to do so, since she knew that if he had known, he would have stayed with her, and he is only telling him now, as he cannot go back now. Meanwhile at the boat, a stranger finds them, and with him getting friendly with Jesch, he reveals their actual numbers. The stranger also recognizes Kurya, and tells them that he is the brother of the Pekineg leader Khan, and he has a bounty on his head. In addition, he was blinded by his brother when he overthrew him, and he also violated his family in front of him. As he left, the rest of the crew was quite angry with Jesch for revealing about them, as they all knew that he would be returning with more men. As he returned, the crew was ready with a ruse, and they tell him that Jesch was killed by Kurya, thus they have tied him up. And in order to lower their defenses, they try to get them drunk. But more men join them later, and they were able to see through their ruse. But before they could hurt them, Leif and Harald return, and they take them out. As the fighting ends, the remaining 3 slaves of Jesch take him out, with the rest of the crew standing down. Back in Jomsborg, an imprisoned Freydis gives birth to a son, and she names him Harald. Harald takes her son away from her, and tells his people that Freydis is quite ill, and might not survive. He then informs his nephew that Freydis has served her purpose, and for him to be forgiven, he must kill Freydis. He agrees to do so, and goes to Freydis, but he tells her that she is not safe, and he has arranged for her to leave the island. But Freydis was not willing to leave without her son, and Jorundur tells her that he will try getting him. During the night, Jorundur gets Freydis' son, and takes them out of the village, not knowing that Harald suspected him, and was just setting him up. As Harald captures him, he finds that the cart only had Freydis' son, while she escaped. As they look for her in the jungle, they find her blooded clothes, and think that she was killed by an animal. But Freydis survives, and is helped by Repna, who helps her recover. While Jorundur is put on trial, and Harald frames him for Freydis' death. Jomsborg's elders find him guilty, and they cut his right hand before exiling him. Meanwhile, Olaf is hunting pagans, and searching for Jomsborg, as he wants to destroy it, and in his endeavor, he makes Svein kill a pagan. As they return to Kattegat, Olaf meets with Elfgifu, who grows concerned for Svein's safety. But Olaf assures her, and tells her not to worry as he will always protect them. With them spending time together, they also ended up sleeping together. Olaf later learns that his brother was seen in Novgorod, and knowing that he is there to raise an army, Olaf decides to head there. But when he reaches there, he learns from his uncle about Harald heading to Constantinople. He then asks Olaf to get rid of Jom's Vikings, as they are raiding their trade routes, and Olaf promises to do so. Back in London, Queen Emma prays for forgiveness for having caused the death of her help. It is when she learns from her informant that Godwin paid a large sum of money to a man known as the Bear, days before her attempted assassination. Following up on the lead, she goes looking for the Bear, and learns that a man named Bear was the one who looked after Godwin after his father's disgraceful fall. In addition, she also learns that Godwin hated his father, while the Bear who took care of him will do anything for him. They were finally able to find the Bear, but he was already dead. Although Emma found Godwin's father's ring on him, which she knew Godwin hated. As she returns back, she finds that Canute has returned, and she was quite happy seeing him. She shares what she found with him, but having no proof it's just a story. Canute, knowing that Godwin saved the queen, and the queen's action resulted in him losing his partner, betroths his niece Githa with him. The queen felt sorry for Githa, but when she sees her, she finds that she is happy, as she learned a lot about Godwin from their help, and now, she will be able to give Godwin what he always wanted, as their bloodline will have a claim to the throne, and hearing this, Queen Emma now believes that it was all Godwin's plan. On the other hand, Freydis, gaining consciousness, learns that she will not be able to conceive moving forward. Despite her being weak, she goes to confront Harald, and challenges him to fight, but with her being weak, she is easily defeated by him. But before he could kill him, the people saw through his lies, and they stoned him to death, and saved Freydis. And as she regains health, she brings the Jom's Vikings and the pagan refugees together, and opens the temple for everyone, ending all divisions, and they can now worship their gods together. On the other hand, Leif and Harald reach a large waterfall, but no one was willing to leave, as they had nothing to look forward to, and Leif tells him that they can only survive the waterfall if they get rid of all their cargo. On the journey, Leif not only learned a lot from Miriam, but they also got romantically involved. Eliana tells Harald that his father Vitamir was bringing the precious cargo to Constantinople in order to stop raids on their home in Shud. Knowing this, and wanting to complete the journey, Harald decides to get rid of the cargo he bought to trade, and seeing him do this, the rest of them also decide to join him for moving forward. With the cargo removed, they go down the waterfall. Having landed downstream, the crew is scattered. A group of Pechenegs find the grounded boat, and they capture Harald. As the rest of the crew reunites, they learn about the same, and Leif, along with Kurya, Eliana and the girls, go to save him. While Miriam along with the men, stays at the boat, so that they can get it back in the water. Miriam also gave the poison she prepared for herself to Kurya, and tells him to use it wisely. Harald is brought before Tarak, a Pecheneг leader, who tortures him. Leif reaches there with Kurya, hoping to bargain him for Harald. Tarak, knowing Khan has been looking for his brother, sends the word to him. But instead of exchange, he is able to capture Leif also. With them being captured, Eliana along with others, mount a surprise attack, and they are able to free Leif and Harald, who kill Tarak, and free Kurya. But as they fled, Khan arrived with his men, and he goes after them. As they reach the boat, they needed to push in order to get it in water. Kurya, wanting to avenge his family, and give them some time, goes to confront his brother. Kurya, using Miriam's poison, kills his brother, and avenges his wife. While the crew was able to get back in the water, and as they left, Leif kills Kurya with an arrow, before Khan's men could torment him. With Miriam's health deteriorating, they stop on an island. Being with Leif, she gives him the keys to her home, and tells him that it has a lot of treasure for him, and she passes away in his arms. Eliana, knowing Harald wanting to raise an army, tells him that once he delivers the cargo to the emperor, he can ask him for anything, and with them developing feelings for each other, they end up kissing. Later on the island, the Byzantine emperor, Romanos III, travels to meet the crew, and we learn that the treasure they were transporting was Eliana, as she was his betrothed. The Byzantine emperor, being happy, tells Harald that he can have whatever he wants. As Eliana was leaving, Harald tells her that she should have told him about this before, as now she is out of his reach. While she tells him that nothing is out of his reach. On the other hand, Olaf, searching for Jomsborg, finds an exiled Gerunder, and is able to convince him to help him get to Jomsborg. Gerunder, not knowing that Herker has been defeated, agrees to help him, and is able to keep them out of range of their defenses. Freydis, knowing that they cannot let Olaf leave, meets with him, and uses it as an opportunity to pass a message to Gerunder. Gerunder leads a small group of Olaf's trusted men to disable the island's defenses, but in reality, it was a trap, and as he fights back, he was fatally wounded. Olaf's forces, finding the defenses to be captured, are lured inside. Freydis, seeing the young king, invites him off the boat, so he can have a better look. With him being off the boat, Freydis burns and kills all of Olaf's men. Olaf and Freydis finally fight it out, and Freydis is able to defeat him, and she kills him, leaving Svein as the sole survivor. Meanwhile in London, despite Emma's protests, Godwin and Githa are married, and now, their future children will be in line for the throne of England. Emma, in order to torment Godwin, gifts Githa the ring she recovered, and makes her promise that she will always wear it. And as the season ends, we see Godwin being with Githa as he sees the ring. On the other hand, Leif and Harald finally reach Constantinople, with Leif seeing the key that Marima gave him. While in Kattegat, Freydis brings Svein to Elfgifu, and in exchange, she wants peace. And Elfgifu assures her of the same. And Freydis leaves Kattegat, remembering everything which happened in its halls. Thanks for watching. And if you liked it, please subscribe.